Fold Apart is a cute and artsy puzzle game with a narrative around communication in a relationship over a long distance. Now, the gameplay itself revolves around literally folding, twisting and turning the actual level that you're in. So essentially it's like a piece of paper with two sides to the story, essentially, with the storyline, but it's not exactly how it goes because it's two sides to the level and there are different elements in it, and you can fold over the different edges, you can rotate the paper around, you can literally flip it onto its other side. So there's a lot of different mechanics to it, and through combining all of these techniques, which it unlocks slowly over 6 chapters of the game. So, it's a relatively short game. It took me about 2.5 hours to get through it, but I'm relatively good at puzzles, so, your gameplay experience may differ, especially if you haven't come across puzzle games like this before. But I like the way that they've done it. So you get a limited number of folds. It doesn't actually tell you how many folds you get, but you can fold the paper over and over again to change the level and how it is, and you've got to do this and combine all the different techniques to make your way to the end goal of the level to get to the next bit. But that's not all there is to the gameplay. There is like a lot of storyline to it between the actual puzzle elements, where you get a couple of choices. You get 2 choices depending on what you want to put for your replies to like the text for the long distance relationships, and they all end up triggering themselves, and then that triggers the actual beginning of the level. So but it's got a nice narrative about communication and how they're not communicating the issues that they have with each other. So it's interesting how it all plays together to then lead into the levels, which then also have narrative elements which revolve around what's going on and their inner fears over the relationship over a long distance. So it's done pretty well, and I like the art style. It's very cute. There's sort of papercraft folded sort of characters themselves, but not really, and then the levels also have like elements of like heartbreak and hearts and different things, because obviously it's a love story. And I like how it's all done pretty well together. So even though it is relatively short, I think it's still a recommended game because the narrative is pretty good, and like the concept of it as well. It's done so well. How they managed to get it to not break when you can literally fold the elements into pretty much anything, but still have them wrap around into the next levels. Like, they've really designed it so well so that it does work. And sure, it's possible to break some aspects of it, but 90%, 99% of it is working. So how they've programmed it is amazing, when it works so well with folding all the elements, rotating it, and things actually affecting the gravity. And I think it's done so well, and it's definitely such an amazingly done game. And you even get a choice of like how you want your relationship to pan out. So obviously there's choice: female female, male male, female male, and male female. I don't know but they had every opportunity for every combination. I remember that much. But so I like how well they've done it, and it's very cute how the whole thing unpans. And sure, the narrative doesn't have any actual consequences. The storyline still plays out the same depending on what you've got. It's fun that they let you have the choices over what you want to say back to the other person, and it would be interesting if they had different narratives that play out depending on what you respond, and maybe it changed the ending and all that. But it definitely seems like they could have room for a sequel as well, because they don't truly resolve everything in the end. So they come together, and it'd be fun to have a puzzle game. It doesn't have to be co-op, but where you could switch between the 2 characters and maybe have them coming together and bringing them together and working on things as a path forward for the game, for a sequel. So having both characters in the levels and folding them together. You can't fold over yourself, but you can put yourself on the back and then fold yourself back in. So it's really cleverly done, and I think it's definitely a puzzle game worth checking out, and should be on everyone's radar for puzzles.